All right, I did my presentation over Morgan's raid, and what you'll learn about is there will be a brief summary and then a thing about each leader on both sides, paths and routes taken, locations for Indiana, more in depth, and then a more in depth of each state's story, and there will also be a few pictures. Morgan's raid, a little brief summary. The only major Confederate attack in Ohio and Indiana. General Morgan set off from Sparta, Tennessee with 2,462 hand-picked soldiers on a raid through Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio, going through city to city through each state, doing things varying from burning railroad cars and bridges to taking taxes and stealing hams. The main leader for the Confederates was General John Hunt Morgan. He was born in Huntsville, Alabama, the eldest son of 10 children of Calvin and Henrietta Hunt Morgan. He was an uncle of geneticist Thomas Hunt Morgan and maternal grandson of John Wesley Hunt, an early founder of Lexington, Kentucky. He grew up on a farm outside of Lexington and attended Transylvania College for 2 years, but was suspended in 1844 for dueling with a fraternity brother. In 1846, he joined the Freemasons. For this battle, he led 2,462 troops from Sparta, Tennessee, through Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. He also later got captured and escaped the Ohio State Penitentiary with 6 of his officers, but 2 of them were captured and the rest returned to the South. And then after the war, a year later, he was killed by Union cavalrymen when he tried to stop Morgan. The main leader for the Union was General Ambrose E. Burnside. He was born May 23, 1824. He was an American soldier, railroad executive, inventor, industrialist, and politician from Rhode Island, serving as governor and as U.S. Senator. As a Union Army general in the American Civil War, he conducted successful campaigns in North Carolina and East Tennessee, and he was defeated in the disastrous Battle of Fredericksburg and the Battle of Crater. His distinctive style of facial hair became known as sideburns, which was basically the opposite of his last name. And for this battle, he correctly guessed that Morgan was going to try to cross the river into West Virginia. This happened in Ohio, where he was being the general. And he stopped them and captured 750 of his troops, including his brother. And then he was a great military general for Ohio and for the Union. General Morgan's route. He traveled through Tennessee, up through a bunch of cities in Kentucky, and then he moved through Ohio, and then he was eventually stopped there. And then this picture shows a bunch of the towns and the exact route that he took. For the locations in Indiana, he went through Corydon, where he patrolled his prisoners and ransomed the town for cash and supplies. He also went through Salem, where he took possession of the town and placed guards over the stores and streets. And he also burned a large brick depot and the rail cars and railroad bridges on each side of the town. In Vienna, he burned a railroad bridge and depot and tapped a telegraph line. And then in DuPont, he burned the town's storehouse and stole 2,000 hams, which they ended up going bad, and he had to leave them on the trail that he was taking, and then the Union used those hams as a partial way of tracking where he was going. So, okay, what happened in Kentucky? It was like this started off as supposed to be a distraction, but Morgan decided that he wanted to invade Indiana and Ohio, and he let his officers know that. He wanted to bring the terror of war to the north. He was ordered not to cross the Ohio River under any circumstances, yet he still tried. And he invaded Kentucky hoping to disrupt the Union's communication line, and he trapped 400 men from the 20th Kentucky in the railroad depot, which he later captured and paroled those people. And it was the only battle in Indiana, and Morgan's men were reduced to 1,800 men. A mile south of Corydon, Morgan met Colonel Jordan's troops drawn behind a barricade of logs, and 355 of them were captured with only 4 dead. In Corydon, he ransomed the town for money and supplies. He then traveled east to Vienna, burning the railroad bridges and depot, tapping a telegraph line. And then he led his men through Vernon, DuPont, New Pekin, Salem, and Versailles. In Ohio, he had to sidestep General Burnside's men because Burnside knew that he was going to be coming into Ohio, so they were defending Cincinnati. And then he moved on through Harrison, New Baltimore, Coleraine, Springdale, Glendale, and Sharonville. He met very great resistance when he tried to capture Camp Dennison, where he was forced to retreat, but then he regrouped and went around the camp through Ward's Corner. He then continued to the Ohio River, where he was pinned down and headed away from the river through Nelsonville, and then moved through other towns to Salingville, where he was finally defeated, captured, and imprisoned. How some of the people remember it is Indiana and Kentucky have well-marked John Hunt Morgan trails where tourists can go and be able to follow through the path that he took in their state. And Ohio also has a historical marker on the site of the Ohio State Penitentiary in honor of his remarkable escape. And then here's some sources where most of the information came from.